Hey everyone, welcome back to Hit Wicket. So we haven't done a scheduled video for a while because we had a couple of things going on. Obviously the India versus England series is going on. We've been watching that quite intently, but we thought we'd go back into it. So today we'll be doing Team Australia, see what their schedules are like for all formats. So starting at the top, they have 5 T20s coming up in England very soon. I think they're already heading there quite soon. They've already named the squad and everything. Quite a few of their main players are resting, and New Zealand I think will be playing most of their full strength players. So that'll be an interesting tour. It'll be mostly like Big Bash sort of players for Australia. So it'll be interesting to see how they go in New Zealand. And New Zealand have been a very strong unit in their own home. And obviously with players like Kyle Jamieson coming up, Kane Williamson playing well, you have Ross Taylor, and they have a couple of new guys as well, like Tim Seifert, Conway, I think his name was Devon Conway. He looked pretty good in the 2020s. So New Zealand will be backing their chances, I reckon. I think New Zealand maybe will win that 3-2, possibly. Australia are under the pump a bit, and they're not playing all their best players as well. So New Zealand would want to win that, I would say. Then following that, Australia have a tour in West Indies. So they go to West Indies for 3 ODIs and 3 2020s. So that'll be an interesting tour to see whether Australia play their full strength side. I think they will. They don't actually have much cricket this whole year, to be honest, so most of their full strength players should be playing most of the games, and I think they'll win pretty much every game on that tour. I'd expect them to win. Maybe one or two like upsets West Indies can do. They're a capable side, but you'd expect Australia to win, I'd say, all the ODIs, but maybe West Indies can pull off something in the 2020, because 2020 anything can happen on the day. But yeah, I'd expect Australia to dominate that tour. Then we have, this isn't really exact yet, but there could be Afghanistan coming for a test in Australia, in Cairns, I think, or Darwin. This isn't confirmed or anything. By the looks of it, I'm not sure it will happen, but hopefully it does for Afghanistan's sake. They're a growing nation. They've been doing really well in the limited overs formats, and they haven't really gotten much of a go in the test format. And I think coming to Australia, playing one test, possibly maybe a warm-up game, it would be a real good learning curve for all their players. Obviously Rashid Khan I think will be captaining their side, and Australia will probably play rest their players possibly. So it'll be a good contest. I mean, Australia should dominate at home, but it'll be a great learning curve for the Afghanistan players. Then we have Sri Lanka coming to Australia for 3 2020s, obviously in preparation for the 2020 World Cup. Sri Lanka, let's not forget, did win a couple of, I think, 4 or 5 years ago when they came here for 2020s. Obviously, Australia was playing mostly Big Bash players again, but I think this time Australia are going to play all their full strength because the 2020 World Cup's coming up, and there's another 2020 World Cup coming up. So they're going to want to get games in for those players such as like Mitchell Starc, Pat Cummins, Steve Smith, David Warner, all those multi-format players. Maybe Josh Hazlewood, never know. I'm not sure if he'll be in the 2020 circuit yet. I think he should, but Australia have sort of opted away from him a bit. But yeah, I think Australia should dominate that, especially because I believe they'll go with their full strength side. Then we have the biggest tour of the year for them, the Ashes 2021 in Australia. So 5 tests. England will be coming here. England obviously playing not pretty decent cricket recently. They won a game in India, and that series is going on right now, and they've been pretty good before that. They've got a couple of really good fast bowlers coming in with Archer, Mark Wood. Ollie Stone looks a good prospect, and you got the batting department of Root, Stokes, Lawrence looks not bad, Pope looks really good, looks like a new Ian Bell. Yeah, they're looking pretty good, and the openers obviously of Sibley and Burns have been decent. But Australia against England have always usually dominated them. But in saying that, England I would say have their most Australian conditions friendly bowling attack going into that tour. So I would say England are going to put up a hell of a fight coming here. They could upset a couple of games, you never know. And Australia in a bit of a lean trot, and saying that Australia won't have any test practice until the Ashes from now. So unless that Afghanistan game goes ahead, if it doesn't, then they won't have a single game until then. So take that into consideration. England will have a couple of games from then. Obviously, they have the Indian tour going on right now. So in saying that, I think England could upset a couple of games, but Australia, I think, will take the series, maybe 3-2, 4-1, something like that. Then obviously we have the 2020 World Cup, which will be in India. Australia have not done well in 2020 World Cups ever really. They've gotten to finals, I think, a couple of times, but they haven't done really well recently, especially like the last 2020 World Cup. They did pretty poor. They got pumped by New Zealand. Really, I mean, it was a close-ish game, but they lost. They lost another close game against India. Yeah, they seem to just not be able to get over the line in those couple of tight games. They did beat Pakistan, but yeah. I mean, they should have really. You'd expect a team like Australia to get to the finals, but Australia haven't had a very strong T20 unit for a while now, and I think a big part of that is that their main players don't play any 2020 cricket, and then they just push them all into the 2020 World Cup and expect them to perform miracles. I think this time they'll be much more prepared. They'll be playing obviously those couple of tours before against Windies and Sri Lanka, playing the full strength side in the T20 format, because T20 format's different to one days, it's different to tests, of course. There's a lot more getting slogged, and you have to accept that you will get pumped some days. But you have to be better with your change-ups, with your slow balls, with your death bowling, so things like that. And your obviously six hitting and running between the wickets. There's big factors in 2020 cricket. But Australia will want, I think Zampa's probably in the form of his life with the ball, which is very good going to India. You want your spinners to be on top. It'll be all up to their batsmen really. See how, I think Smith will do well. But big factors will be Finch and Warner, whether they can score runs at the top or not. If they can't, then I think Australia will struggle to win many games, and they probably won't qualify. If they do, then Australia can back themselves to go far in the tournament. And lastly, we have another possible tour. I saw ESPN Cricket Info article about Australia possibly going to Bangladesh, since they didn't go for tests and the T20s that they were supposed to. Instead, they might be going for 3 or 4. I think it was 3 2020s. In Bangladesh. So Bangladesh obviously not playing very well at the moment, just got pumped by Windies at home, and they do seem a bit rusty. Shakib's injured. They're not in a very good place at the moment with their cricket, and Australia should go into that thinking that they will win all, if not at least 2 games out of the 3, but I'd expect Australia to win all 3 games going into that tournament. So yeah, looking at Australia's year as a whole, they didn't really have much cricket, only 3-4 tours and the World Cup and Ashes. I mean, they don't have much to do this year. They have a lot of limited overs cricket, like T20s and one days, but not many test matches. But they'll back their chances in most of the tours that they're playing this year against slightly weaker nations. Obviously, no India in this tournament. They might verse in the 2020 World Cup, but not for an official tour. So we'll see how they go. Next up, we'll probably be doing Team England. So until that video, we'll see you guys next time.